Hi, everybody. Welcome to Club Solutions Leadership Viewpoint. Rejoined by Mel Kleist, the CEO of East Bank Club. And if you didn't see our last video that Mel and I did, Mel talking about all the renovations and changes and the reasons behind it at the East Bank Club, please go back and check that out. Today, we're going to talk about culture and leadership, because I know Mel's done a lot with his team in relation to that. So welcome back, Mel.
Happy to be back.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this. So just a little bit of background. So Mel and I were in a roundtable with a really great bunch of people, and we talked a lot about these types of things, but we got to be good friends through that. And I've been able to get out to the East Bank Club several times and visit with Mel and his team. So I've been able to witness a lot of the leadership, team building and culture building things that they've done. So that's why I wanted to talk to Mel about that a little more today. So Mel, let's start off with just talking about culture. How would you define the culture at the East Bank Club?
Well, I mean, before my time, there was a culture in place, right? So when I first came here, I really just observed and tried to understand what is it that makes this place so special. It was special before I got here, and I'm just happy to contribute. So really it was a learning experience in the beginning. And what I realized is that this club is centered on purpose. People care about helping others. It's not driven so much on like a sales quota, but there's high expectations on their work experience, if they've been in the field, if they got a degree in exercise science, if they're a trainer. You have to have a degree just to be interviewed for the position. So they've set these standards. And then there's order to things. There's a lot of different ways that we interact with a member on policies and giving people the benefit of the doubt. So there's order and structure behind everything we do, and there's a lot of care. People just care about one another, and they try to cross over and support other departments when we need some help.
Yeah. When we talk about culture, we've kind of been defining it as, we've got our mission statement, we've got our purpose, we've got our values, we've got that. And then on the other side of it, we've got how we act, right? We've got how we treat each other, how we talk to each other, how we hire, how we fire potentially, and then the space in between is really what makes up culture. And when we're able to have those two things in congruence, when we have sort of what we say we are and how we act connected, then that feels like a pretty strong position.
Yeah.
How do you relate to that as far as what I'm saying and what you've been able to build at the East Bank Club?
Well, we've always had a really strong mission statement that our employees stand behind. It's inspiring our community to live well. And we just recently surveyed our employees a year ago just to make sure that we're on the right track with a lot of this stuff. So we asked them, what do they like about East Bank? What do they want us to do better? And we got some valid comments back, things that we can do better. One is communication. We can communicate more. And really none of us communicate enough as leaders. So we think that we're overstating something or we're saying it too often, but there's never a limit to that. And there's never a limit to appreciation and recognition. So all of those things, if we're doing them right, we're exhausting ourselves and saying it over and over again. And we have to be consistent with appreciation across the club. So one of the activities I asked my team to do this last month was, hey, write down some thank you notes of all your employees. List them all on a different set of thank you cards and acknowledge, why was it easy for some of them? Why was it hard for some of them? What's your relationship with those employees? Why do you not have maybe the connection you need or the trust level developed that you need to be able to really show genuine appreciation for the things that they are skillful in? Because everybody's got skills, but sometimes we look at certain individuals and maybe there's the permission to play things that they didn't do right, like they don't show up to work always on time or something that's causing you to not get to the point where you're appreciating them for all the good stuff they do. So we want to kind of work through that. It's been a wonderful exercise for our leadership to go through that and develop an understanding of where they're maybe missing it with some of their key employees.
Yeah, because we talk about that in terms of building trust, right? Really kind of getting to know your people. And that's such a cornerstone of being able to have any kind of relationship with them, is really sort of understanding where they're coming from and what their particular situations are.
Yes, and I spent every quarter now, we take one of our core values and we sit with it for those 90 days. So we just came off of building enduring relationships. Now we're into our second core value of Be One Team. And while we were in building enduring relationships, I wanted people to slow down and really get to know people on a genuine level so that you can build that trust that incurs over time. So it was a wonderful experience. I got to know members that I typically wouldn't have taken the time to get to know, learned so much from them that time was not wasted time. I know we have a lot of work to do. We're sitting in our offices. We're just jamming out a bunch of work. We got a lot of emails to get through. But actually, I didn't become unproductive. I actually became more productive because of these relationships I was building. I learned a lot about members. I learned a lot about our staff that's meaningful and helpful for my decision making. So it was so worth it.
Man, okay, so there's a whole bunch in there to unpack. So you're taking once a quarter, you're taking one of your core values and you're spending time breaking it down with the team, and then you're putting some action items behind it. That's what you said?
That's right. So I thought this would be a daunting task, right? So not only do I meet with the managers of the club, and to put it in context, we have almost 700 employees here. We have 40 managers. So I meet with the managers first for the quarter, go through all the things they want to go through. And a big special part of it is that core value that we're going to hold for that quarter. We do an activity to energize the team on it, just something to kind of get people thinking. And then, then I go through every single department and host those meetings too. So I had 15 to 17 meetings on department level that I hosted. These are each an hour and a half long too. And that's my responsibility to get done in about a month. And you'd think, why would I ever take this on? But it was a result of the survey, people saying we want more communication, we want more transparency. And I know it's the right thing. It's changed it's taken a great culture and it's made it an even better culture to feel in it. Like they know it's coming from me, it's coming from the source. They're bought in. And we just got done. I just completed a meeting on the next quarter before I came in to meet with you, and it's on Be One Team. So we talked about how we're all interconnected and how different departments, you exist in a different area, but you really have a responsibility to also get to know those people outside of your department, like housekeeping. So we're all in housekeeping. We're Be One Team in housekeeping, because what you can do to support it makes that person's day. And I think one of the things that was kind of cool to express with the team, and I saw some light switches turn on, is going about your day and creating a focus of, if you can make someone else's day a little bit better, it's going to make your day the best. Like you could take a bad day, you walk in, you're holding on to something, go out and make someone feel good, and you're going to feel great. And it's cool. So it can turn your mood around.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you, because that is a huge time investment. But the congratulations is for you seeing where the return on investment is for that time, and understanding that when you are able to communicate whatever the
mission, vision,
whatever you wanted to communicate, that you are actually creating higher job satisfaction for those people, the time spent with you, getting to know who you are. I mean, just the thought of like not losing a couple good people on your team and not having to replace them, and the impact they have with members, and the cost of turnover, man, that is just so great. And what discipline on your part to do all those meetings, right? Because it's easy to do the first couple and then delegate after that. But man, congratulations, Mel. That's awesome.
Something that kind of opened my eyes to it when we went through the tough period of being closed down, opening back up. We also stopped doing new hire onboarding. So we weren't onboarding those new hires through like an educational series on what we're all about here, culture and values and so forth. And what I also noticed is that those new employees, they didn't know who I was. I got 700 employees here. I can't, it's hard for me to know everybody. especially when they come on board and they've only been here a few weeks. Now, because they go through the onboarding, they've heard me speak through videos, and they know a bit about our culture. I get hellos from these people that have only been with us a week or two, and it makes me feel great that we just onboarded someone and they're buying in. They're seeing that there's something special here. And so knowing that there's value in being in front of these individuals any way you can is really important.
And it's really the definition of leadership, right? Is being known, being accessible, being out there, right? And not being stuck behind your desk or in your office, especially, in a club as huge as yours. It'd be easy to kind of get lost into the, hey, I'm the administrator guy, but being the upfront leader, and that's fantastic. One of the big tests on culture is always around hiring and firing. So let me ask you this: Have you had to let people go who were not good cultural fits, but maybe were technically good performers? They were what we would say, we talk about healthy companies versus smart companies, right? So maybe they were very smart and they were good at their job, but they weren't necessarily healthy for the culture. Have you had to do that?
Yeah, well, you would think that it's an invitation to come work anywhere, that you're going to be kind and you're going to be a team player. But this is an experience that just happened a couple months ago. We had someone that we were going to hire, and we went through the core values, one of them being B1 team, and they said, do I have to? We're like, no, you don't have to, but you don't have to work here either. So, see you later. That actually came up. So, yeah, we have to stop them at the door if they're really not a good fit, not because of their skill set or what they bring or where they worked before, but because you have to interview for, are these people team players? Do they have a passion to serve? Do they have hospitality in their voice and what they're saying to you? Because if they don't have those things, you're not going to get it out of them. You forget it. And our culture really isn't on driving numbers. It isn't on driving revenue as much as it is on driving like hospitality and good service. And so we've asked people, invited them to leave if they're just not a good cultural fit on that level. But we don't really fire people based off of whether they hit a quota. We can work with that person all day.
Well, and the numbers. I mean, the great thing is, when you have the service culture and you have the hospitality, the numbers will come, right? Yeah. That's the result of having a great product, right? And sometimes we focus so much just on the numbers, and that's where we get into expense cutting and, reducing, and can I, shorten this shift by 2 hours and save a few bucks, right? And that's where we start to get into that spiral, rather than thinking about, no, how are we treating our people and how are our people treating our members?
Right. Yeah, that creates a culture in itself if you're hyper focused on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know, Mel, you do a lot of things. You mentioned already a few things you do intentionally, but you do some other things. Like I know you have a coach that comes in and works with your team, your management team.
Yes. So I've expanded my leadership team maybe 4 years ago. And so there's new players, and I really wanted all the people in the room that could help make decisions to grow our club. And we have phenomenal people in that room, but what the challenge is getting the most out of every individual. It's like you put all these great thinkers in a room, this massive brain power, and then you don't use it. So with people that have never been in that room or were not used to working on strategic thinking that high level, they're more department focused, for example, we have to make that shift. So it's a learning shift. You have to go from being more the teammate on the department to being the teammate on the senior leadership team, where that's your team first and foremost, because you're getting some work done up there at that level, and you have to be a contributor. So the challenge is at first taking these great people and putting them in the room and asking them to speak, and silence, so silence is disagreement. We have to come to terms with that, right? And you actually came by to see us too. And the work that you did with us lives and is present in all of us now, because that was really influential to go through the Geniuses workshop, because it helped us respect and honor all of our strengths and what we bring to the table. And we're all really great at things, but when you start to understand how, like for instance, I might be more innovative and I spend more time in that world, but my COO is awesome at execution, but doesn't like to stay in the same world that I like to stay in. She likes to make sure it all gets thought through. All the things that can go wrong are thought about and how we can resolve those before they happen. And I don't like to do that to the nth degree. Like, I'm so happy I have her as a partner. So,
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
work together and care about each other and what we bring to the table.
Yeah, no, that was a ton of fun working with your team. And you and I went to dinner. We're both innovators. And we went to dinner together and we just spent, I don't know, 3 hours coming up with ideas. I mean, it was funny, and the time just went so fast because it's just, yeah, that's where our joy is in the work environment. So yeah, no, it's super fun to be able to do that. But I think, the commitment you guys make is really admirable, and people can do it on all different scales, right? It can be as little as book clubs. It could be taking different things. So people can do it, just making education and staff development a priority on some level. Now, one thing you said in there about bringing people into the team and getting them to talk, right? And that's its own thing. And I know you're well schooled in the 5 dysfunctions of a team. You're using all kinds of vocabulary in there, which is very impressive. But we talk about good conflict, and a lot of that is getting people to speak their opinion, especially if they're new in a group. It might be a little intimidating. So how have you been able to do that, just so people can maybe use that as something that they can use with their teams?
I think you have to lay the ground rules for what the meetings are going to be. The time that we all get together is a meeting. And when we do that, we should be prepared for that meeting. So we have to, in our case, we share our updates as, there's a Google Drive for that. And any updates that you're going to share or want to share with the team, you put that in days ahead of our meeting so that we don't have to spend time on updates. We want to get into the strategy stuff. We want to get into how can I help you? And it's important that when you do bring up things in the meeting, you clarify with some color why you're bringing it up. Is it something that you're bringing up because you're just trying to inform us? Are you bringing it up because you want some help? Are you bringing it up because, hey, I've already made this decision, but I want to know if you feel the same way I do? And you clarify it. And then when you get done, after you've maybe had some constructive feedback and gone through the share of our brain power, then you have to decide, is this decision now change? Where are we? And clarify where we're going forward. You have to kind of summarize our meeting today. Did we decide to do something, or are we staying with what we had before? So we have to make sure that we leave the room with some clarity. And those are things that we keep working on. It's not perfect, but you have to set those ground rules for meetings.
Yeah, ending with clarity. That's definitely a hallmark item for really being able to have effective meetings that aren't a waste of time or money. All right, well, let me get you out of here on this question, Mel. So as far as maybe club operators or people who are running their business, who may want to feel like maybe their culture isn't exactly where they want it to be, and they need sort of a first step, right? They need, like, how do I start? What would be your recommendation for a place to start for people?
Observe what you can observe. But one of the things I did, and I've done it a couple times with different executive groups 7 years ago, and last year they're a little bit different groups, is I did a culture survey, because you have to ask different people how they view the culture. The culture isn't something that you've created or I've created. You're in it. And so getting a view from other people and different levels of the organization, and make sure you understand what your culture is first. In our case, we know that we're purpose driven. We know we're order related to our activities, and we know that we're a caring society. That's a culture, but you could be a driven culture. You could be the opposite side of that. And that's fine too, but you have to know what that is first. That'll help you make the right decisions. the one thing I shared, gave you credit for, I also think is super important. Once you have that culture identified and you have to move forward, the leadership team, if you can really understand what their strengths are, that whole process of trusting them, working towards some really strategic changes, and change is difficult, but understanding those key players and what their strengths are is really critical to start getting the work done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great, Mel. And you said earlier about communication and over communicating, and that's definitely a principle within the 5 dysfunctions, because we tend to think we said it once that everybody remembers, but no, it is communicating and over communicating. And in the words, in the six types of working genius, we talk about galvanizing, right? And that's sort of getting the buy-in from people and having to sort of resell an initiative and a concept, because people need to remember what's important now, and what's the thing that we're all focused on.
Right.
Yeah.
Communicate it over and over again.
All right. Any final thoughts for people before we say goodbye?
Yeah, just the world's changing, change with it, and this industry is not that old. It's maybe 40, 50 years old, really. And what we've been doing for the last 20 years, 30 years, whatever it's been, can evolve. And so check your biases and think differently about what the members need and what they want today, and be willing to make some changes and pursue them. They're rifle shots, right? You try something new. If it doesn't stick, what's the harm? You at least tried something new, and you move towards a different direction. And you got people to buy into it, so that's always fun too. It's always fun to get energized around something new.
Yeah, nice. All right. Well, thank you, Mel. I really appreciate all the time for this segment and the last segment. And so I'm going to follow up with you on the club tour thing, but totally appreciate you taking the time. And I can't wait for my next visit out to the East Bank Club.
Looking forward to it. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.
Take care.